Good evening, folks. Welcome to Ridgecrest Talk. I'm Huey, along with my partner, Robert Eierman, and our special guest tonight, the Chief of the Ridgecrest Police Department, Chief Ron Strand.
Yeah.
Thanks for being with us.
Welcome.
Thank you for coming in.
All right, glad to be here, guys.
There's been some discussion of recent of a potential, or I should say possible, Indian casino here in Ridgecrest. To be located on China Lake Boulevard near the front gate on the east side of China Lake Boulevard.
Well, I think right now what the city's looking at doing is trying to get the municipal services agreement completed
Right.
before the actual location of the casino.
That's true.
If it is
two parts.
Right, there's two parts. I mean, it could go up in the business park. It could go on a private piece of land within the city. We don't know. Obviously, we got to get through the municipal service agreement first before that decision is made.
I posed an interesting question to Mr. Parsons after the meeting last Wednesday when we were out in the foyer, and I proposed to him, well, what if the city were to decline this MSA, and could the tribe go ahead and buy property from a private property owner and just go ahead and put a tribe in? And he said, yes.
Well, my understanding.
I got to thinking about that. They might be able to do that, but wouldn't the state, when they give permission for them to run a casino, if they look at the facts and say, look, the city declined this and the tribe moving ahead on their own, we're not going to give you the permit to operate a casino?
Well, you're outside of my scope of this whole municipal services agreement on the casino. That's probably a better question for Mr. Parsons or even members of the council. But I do know that that they have been approved to place a casino somewhere in the valley, within the city or maybe even the county. And so there's pluses and minuses to both.
Okay. Well, for those that weren't able to attend last Wednesday at the city council meeting, we had pretty good turnout, I would say.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Why don't you explain to them what you information that you gave to the council when they asked you to come up and brief them?
Well, one of the things I looked at was a municipal services agreement. And part of that agreement has to do with Public Law 280, which means if we enter into an MSA with the tribe to put a casino in, they would agree to allow us to enforce the law. This is a bill passed by Congress in 1953 that would allow us as a municipality to enforce state law on casino grounds, which would obviously give us the ability to deal with any sort of crime issues. In looking at it, I saw that we could probably go a little bit further, maybe include some of our municipal codes too. The tribe can waive that also. And the reason for the municipal code, we'd be able to deal with curfews, parking violations, loitering, and a few other issues that we have that we can control in our municipal code that's not covered under the penal code. Also looked at the agreement, and at first it showed that it was gambling age would be 18 and over. I was a little concerned about that. I think it should be 21.
You
should be 21 and older if they're going to do it. Now the issue was if they bring alcohol beverage control in where they can sell alcohol, they won't be able to have anybody in their establishment gambling under 21. But just as a way of ensuring that doesn't occur, we were recommending that, and I think that the Indian tribe's on board with that also. Then also something in the agreement to where we stayed in there that we'll mutually cooperate with each other, because some of the research we've done with the 7 other law enforcement entities in the state that we've spoken with, the big part of whether or not a casino is going to do well in your community, in other words, you're going to mitigate any sort of crime issues that come in, is the relationship that you have with the security forces at the casino. In fact, my captain spoke to a representative in Riverside County, and they actually they have 3 casinos in their area where this captain works at. And when they assigned a liaison officer to work very closely with the tribe and the security, a lot of their issues that they had were mitigated, and things were going quite well. So having this stuff in the agreement early on and establishing the ability for law enforcement to conduct criminal investigations on the trust land, that's what it would be if the city sold them the land, it'd go into a trust. Us having the ability to investigate criminal acts, to have access to their video, which I believe the tribe is very amenable to. makes it easier for us to do our job to minimize whatever impact this has. We currently have bars in town. We do have one establishment, one bar in town, Tommy T's, that does have a casino. It's a card room in there, and we haven't had really any issues with that at all.
Okay. And what other towns or counties have you checked with that might be similar to what's being proposed here?
Well, the ones that are the most similar would be the casino up in Bishop. I spoke with Sheriff Bill Lutz about their experience with the casino, and in fact, a lot of the language in the MSA we're requesting to be changed is coming from talking to these variety agencies that deal with them. They've actually haven't had a whole lot of issues up in Bishop. They've had some public intoxication in the parking lot, but really nothing to speak of. We spoke to Kings County, which the Lemoore Casino jurisdiction's in.
Which is right next to Navy base.
Yeah, it's about 3 miles from the city. They said that they recover a few auto thefts in the parking lot. They have some issues. Their issue was making sure that you had that good relationship with the casino and the tribe. But really, there was nothing of significant. In fact, there really hasn't been any of the agencies that we've spoken to that have close working relationships with the tribes have had significant problems.
And that certainly is what it appears
Right.
would be the situation here. It seems to be that they're quite amenable to working with the city. Is that true or false?
From my experience so far, they appear to be wanting to work with the city and the community. And I think they're more interested in the community at this point in time to try and get it to where if it does come in, the community will accept it for what it is. I look at the casino as like any other establishment that we bring in to the community where you can have people coming from out of town. If we open up a big sports bar, that could be problematic if they didn't have proper security, if they overserved, we ignored it.
Well, let's talk about increasing crime.
Yeah.
We're going to take our break right now,
Yeah.
and we'll continue the discussion with Chief Strand on possibility of an Indian casino right here in Ridgecrest. Join us on the other side.
Welcome back to segment 2, Ridgecrest Talk. This evening, we have with us Chief Ron Strand, and again, I'm Robert Eierman, partner Al Huey, and we're talking about the possibility of a casino here in Ridgecrest.
Now, before we went to break, you were talking about increasing crime,
Right.
Associated with other casinos that are up and operating right now, Indian casinos, right?
Right, yeah.
Okay. So how do you anticipate an increase in crime if this were to be built here?
If it's managed right, I don't think we're going to see a significant increase in crime. I would look at this as the same if we brought a sports bar in town. You're going to have more people coming to the sports bar if it's managed right. If they're not over-serving, you're not going to have as many DUIs. If they're managing the incidents inside the bar, you're not going to have a lot of fights or melees outside. A lot of this is going to depend upon the relationship between the police department and the casino security and how well they deal with issues within their establishment.
Now, has this tribe, the Timbashaw, correct? That's the name of the tribe?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, Timbashaw tribe, do they have a casino anyplace else?
I don't think so. I'm not sure.
So it's a crapshoot, so to speak, that they'll be able to deliver what you're seeing and hearing from other casinos in other communities.
Well, I wouldn't call it a crapshoot. I would say it's how we start off our relationship, and I think the relationship starts off with the municipal service agreement and how amenable they are in putting things in place that will allow us the ability to work with them. Because this is still going to be sovereign land, and so if they allow us the ability to work with them, they have just as much to protect as we do. They want to protect their image, I would assume. I'm sure that they don't want to become a rowdy bar or a crime, plagued area, just like we don't.
Of course not.
Right. And I think it's really good. Everything that we've gotten from the other law enforcement entities is basically the key is a relationship. It's communication. And it's like that with anything else. You know, if we have a bar in town that has poor security and they're over-serving, yeah, we're going to have large fights in the parking lot like we've had. And we're going to have all the issues that we're concerned about with the casino. If the casino comes in and they have an adequate security force and we work well with them, then we should be able to mitigate most all this stuff.
I was kind of surprised, particularly with the council, I'll say, but they asked you to come up and give them a briefing last Wednesday, and I assumed that might happen again this Wednesday.
Yes.
By the way, this Wednesday, 6 o'clock, City Council Chambers is part 2 of this MSA discussion about the Indian casino, so you might want to turn out for that. But
yeah, it's gonna be a town hall format, so it
Right.
should be a little bit more open, a little bit more relaxed when it comes to the questioning and the back and forth. Not as
Right.
formal, I would assume.
And we hope to get the representative of the developer for these casinos on, but he was unable to be here today down in LA, but we might be able to have him before the Wednesday meeting. Just stay tuned for an update on that. But what I was going to say, I was surprised that none of the council, let's put it this way, if I were on the council and this came before me, you gave them all the data.
Mhm.
They need to know that. But if I were sitting there, I would have said, Chief, in your opinion, is this a good thing for the community or a bad thing related to crime and how it was going to impact you and the department?
And I would say it depends on how our relationship is with the casino. I mean, there's a lot of things that come within this community. I mean, the police department is a representation. It takes care of the public safety of the community, and what the community brings in, we adjust to. They get my opinion. If a casino comes in, I will do the best we can to be able to manage it, to be able to reduce the impact it'll have on our community. That's my job, is to come up with that solution. And if they ask me, I mean, there were concerns, and I think that I brought up about the under 21.
Right.
Making sure we had the cooperation, making sure we had access to trust land. I mean, those are the things that got my honest opinion, where I could feel comfortable with, if this came in our community, that I'd have the tools in which to manage this.
And isn't it possible within the MSA to almost like demand that, or say that this is an integral part of the MSA and you must cooperate and that kind of thing, or is that not possible?
Well, I think there's language that we've drafted that are at the attorneys that is not as strong as that.
Okay.
But I think there's language in there that can be effective enough that will allow us to work together, because obviously, you know, they want us working with them just as much as we want them working with us. And
But if they weren't, the city doesn't really have the power to shut them down, right? Because that's sovereign ground that they're on.
well, the MSA has obviously areas in there where if they're you can go to arbitration if you have issues and stuff like that. So there are protections in there that I've read that where this can be addressed.
Okay.
But they are waiving some of their rights as a sovereign nation.
Right.
And agree, if they agree to this, if the council agrees to it. I mean, obviously this has to, if the public wants this and the council, votes for it, it's really up to them.
I think the important point that you mentioned is that more than likely they wouldn't want any situations out of control or getting themselves a bad reputation. That's not good for them. That doesn't mean that the casino will be a success. So it's in their best interest to have a well-run operation that doesn't cause a lot of problems.
Any business would want that, I would think. Yeah.
Well, let's say with the new Walmart building, and you have 3 or 4 more retail stores that open up down there. I mean, it's a little bit different than the casino, but as you condense retail businesses, you are going to have other issues. You're going to have traffic issues. You're going to have crime issues. You're going to have people breaking into cars. You're going to have shoplifters. And that's all the stuff that we as the police department attempt to mitigate, obviously with the business owners, with their security cameras, and working with us on shoplifters.
Yeah, but I didn't see anywhere where Walmart's paying the city $400,000, or actually $200,000 for mitigation of police issues.
Well, I think that, you're kind of getting out of my area, but I do know just a tad. Walmart does, collect sales tax. They do pay
Right.
property tax. In the sovereign nation, they don't collect sales tax. They don't pay property tax. And this is a way.
Got to cut you off.
Yeah, we.
Sorry.
Break
That's okay.
snuck right up on us.
There you go.
So join us on the other side of the break. We'll have some more talk.
Welcome back. We're here tonight with Chief Ron Strand talking about the Indian Casino. Before we went to break, you were talking about the increase in crime that could happen to any business. You were talking about Walmart, the super Walmart that's coming in.
Yeah, I mean, anytime, you bring a concentration of new retail within your community, especially if we're going to be bringing people in from, Trona, Bishop, Kernville, where we become the center of retail, you are going to have, additional issues with that we address. I mean, I don't want to drive too much of an analogy between that and a casino, but it is the same when you are looking at bringing people in from out of town. There are going to be people that are going to go there, that are going to go to the establishment that may be drug users, and a lot of that has to do with how the casino handles it, how we deal with it when we're called upon.
Right.
Traffic's
Traffic's going to be another problem. The state really helped us out recently, putting that median down the middle of China Lake. I don't recall any left-hand turn when you're traveling south on China Lake.
I'm sure that the developer could get those put in if that was meaningful or needed for proper.
I don't know. The state hasn't worked too well with
I think right now, the casino is like 350 slot machines, 6 tables. So you're not really talking at this point in time where you're going to have a significant amount of traffic and parking issues there. Now, if the casino grows over time, then yes, maybe. But we're not talking. We're not talking Stater Brothers traffic. We're not talking Albertsons traffic.
You don't anticipate any real
you're gonna have
accidents.
You're gonna have you're gonna have an impact there because if you put another business there that was let's say a smaller a medium-sized retail, you'd probably have about the same amount of traffic impacts. Now I know that in the MSA they're dealing with that initially to be able to. That's one of the issues that has to be addressed when the casino comes in is the traffic considerations. So whatever that may be, wherever it may be, those issues should be addressed.
I was going over what was discussed by the Mr. Parsons and the developer and related to the police department. Mm-hmm. And part of the MSA is $80,000 up front for a police car. Mm-hmm. Do they cost that much for a police car?
No, I think it was a police car and other equipment. But yeah, police cars right now are about $52,000.
Really?
But that includes 5 years worth of full maintenance and service warranty. So really, the only things we're responsible for is tires and brakes. Everything else that breaks on that within 5 years, 120,000 miles paid for by the dealer. So it's actually a pretty good deal.
Oh,
then you got your radio in there and all the equipment.
Right.
So yeah, they get a little expensive because you have to outfit them appropriately.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
I just can't believe they're that expensive.
And you only have a few people, a few manufacturers that manufacture police models, and we try to buy our stuff local.
Okay.
So.
And then in addition to that, annually about almost $400,000 in this MSA will go from the tribe to the city, and half of that is to subsidize the police department.
Yeah, I believe they have $128,000 in there that would help mitigate any issues in public safety. Now, whether or not that's going to go towards a new position or not, that hasn't been determined yet. My belief is that we'll have to see if the casino comes in. I mean,
so you're not anticipating an increase in any officers?
Well, not yet. We have to really see. I mean, we're talking if it's approved today, you're still talking 2 years before the casino's here. So we have time to look at the impact, look at where the casino.
Because the developer said 2 officers.
Well, that's what the developer said, but obviously my position, it's the same position I've had with Majorel. We're gonna look at the staffing levels of what we need to be able to provide public safety to the community. And right
Well,
now,
since you brought up Measure L, let's
Right.
talk about that briefly, since we only got a
Okay.
few minutes left.
good. Let me get a plug in on that. It's good.
Measure L expires, the sunset is next year,
Correct.
2017. I understand that there's a high possibility, though, that it will be on the November ballot to reapprove.
That's up to the city council and whether or
Right.
not they decide to put it on. Then yes.
And I also understand, I want to ask you directly because I don't know unless I hear it from you, that we have approximately 15 officers right now that are being paid under Measure L monies.
Yes, that is true.
Okay.
Yes.
And the total force of the department,
32.
so almost half of the police department is funded. Wow.
That's true.
Has the funding gone down that much in the police departments prior to Measure L?
Well, I think what you've looked at is a significant reduction in funding to the city, through state takeaways and county takeaways and, a whole lot of other things that went away over time. And, we're looking at a, $12 million general fund. And if you look at us compared to places like Paso Robles and even Barstow, our general fund is very low compared to those other entities. Our main employer does not pay sales tax,
right.
vehicle tax, or property tax. And when you have over 5,500 people working on the installation, I mean it's great that we have a lot of people that make great incomes.
Yeah, but Barstow, I don't know if they're in the city proper. I don't think they are, but you have the Army base, the Marine base.
But I believe last
I don't
time
know
I
if
checked,
they have any major.
last time I checked, I think they had about a $17 million general fund.
Wow.
And they're about 21,000 people. So, I mean, I think that when you look at it, Measure L is important for us because I believe for a long time we need to be self-help. We need to have our own.
What would happen if the people decide not to approve it?
Well, then you probably would have a defunct police department and very little road maintenance.
That's a scary thought.
Yeah.
I hope that they will significantly and profoundly consider putting it on the November ballot because, in my opinion, the chances of it passing in November are 3 times than if they wait until June of 17. Because in June of 17, only the no voters will go to the polls.
Well, I think here eventually we'll probably start educating the community on what the effects of what would happen with Measure L if it was gone. I know that there have been a few newspaper articles, with the News Review that have touched on this, and you're right. It is. It would be. It'd be devastating to my department. Taken in line with the jail closing and.
We only have 10 seconds left. Any last words you want to give to the public regarding the casino or Measure L before we go?
Well, I think that as you go to consider the renewal of Measure L, you need to take into real consideration that we need that funding to continue the police department.
Okay, we're done for this evening. Please join us again, and till then, be well.
Good night, folks.
All right.